would you compare if you could take five Steelers seasons and compare each season to a Christopher Nolan film? What films would you choose? What seasons would you choose, and what are your comparisons?
Okay, so I thought about this ahead of time. This was one question that we talked about ahead of time. So I'll give you my quick breakdown, and I'll say a bit more. So I went with the past five seasons because those are the ones that are just sort of most prominent in my mind. Uh, Actually, there's a good talk about why I went with those. I guess I'm not sure entirely. So 2023, I said was like Oppenheimer, um, roughly because there are a lot of threads going on, and it wasn't like a super awesome season. Neither was it a super awesome movie, I thought. But it was good enough. It was fine. Like I'm okay with that. 2022, I said that was like Inception. It was first season with Pickett. It wasn't sort of, and it ended on a kind of cliffhanger. It wasn't clear what we had at the end. Spoiler alert: that's how Inception ends. 2021. Ben's last year, I said that was like The Dark Knight Rises. It was sort of like this immaculate happy ending, at least in his last game at Heinz Field, much like Bruce Wayne gets in The Dark Knight Rises. 2020, uh, we were hot out the gates and then we collapsed. I thought that was like Interstellar, which was like a cool premise, and then it just goes crazy. Uh, 2019, Ben gets hurt in like the second week. So I said that was like Dunkirk because every week was just like a slog. It was like we're constantly going through the ringer here. So that's the short version of it. Now I can talk in more detail about any one of those. But do you want to go through them in more detail, or is this? I don't want to be too self-indulgent here because this is pretty self-indulgent.
Oh no, I think we should. I would like a breakdown. Now, unfortunately for myself, I haven't seen a couple of these films, so we'll be relying entirely on yours. But yeah, let's do a little bit of a breakdown of each one.
Okay, so I'll start this year, 2023, and there's a risk here, right? Because I don't know if I have enough distance from the season to really pull out the dominant threads or whatnot. But to me, it felt like there were too many threads this season. It felt uh, like what's the story of the season? I don't know. I mean, first terrible offense, they can't do anything. Pickett suddenly struggling with things he was good at last year. Uh, Seemingly nonsensical play calling, a lot of significant injuries to the defense. Jalen Warren arching as this awesome running back, and Najee Harris slowly getting better as the season goes. Then you got QB injuries. You got Rudolph coming in and suddenly seeming pretty good, and providing a spark. Um, and so all in all, like moderately successful, right? I mean, we talked about like how to evaluate it last week, and it's hard to be mad from with 10-7, although it's certainly disappointing given the preseason expectations. But it's the kind of thing where I don't really know. I don't know what to think coming out of it, and that's how I felt coming out of Oppenheimer. I was like, this very long movie with lots going on. In some respects, I thought it was just sort of gratuitously complexly narrated, right? Sometimes they would just like cut off a scene and then show you that the end of that scene later for no clear reason, uh, aside from sort of like a cheap way of creating drama or something like that. So I mean, I felt a little like it was a good movie and there's like great performances in it and whatnot, but I'm not, I wasn't thrilled with it, and so that's how I kind of felt about this season. Let's see, 2022. Yeah, I kind of said most of what I thought about that one. We had some cool comeback wins at the end there, against the Raiders and the Ravens, where it looked like Pickett really might have some promise here. He could be the one to take us, to the promised land, or at least deeper in the playoffs. And then we didn't make the playoffs, and so we're sort of left hanging. Like, is he the answer, right? Because he certainly wasn't the answer early in the season, and then late in the season, he wasn't the answer in the first three quarters, but he was in the fourth quarter. So just, what do we have here? And that's essentially how Inception ends. Although to be fair to Inception, right, with that top spinning at the end and then it just cuts off, uh, I think the more charitable reading of that movie is that it cuts off because that's not the point anymore, right? The point is that he's with his kids, or at least he is appreciating being with his kids in some capacity, whether it's real or not. Um, so I don't. I mean, maybe that's. I was interested because I haven't seen Inception in so long, but I saw it so many times when it was in theaters, and I was watching it actually not myself. I was on a plane a couple weeks ago, and the person in the seat in front of me was watching it. And I was like watching it without sound a bit, and I remember thinking like I have no idea what's going on here. Like I sort of remember the general idea, but what the what the characters' motivations are and everything, I have no memory of a lot of those things in Inception. So. Um, okay, that was 2022. 2021. Yeah, I don't know how much more I have to say about that. It was not a fantastic season. I don't think that Dark Knight Rises was a fantastic movie, but it was, it was good enough, and it was a nice way to sort of close that series, that Batman trilogy, and it was a nice way to end Ben's career, aside from the playoff blowout loss to the Chiefs. uh, but the last game at Heinz Field was, yeah, like that. It's hard to have asked for a better last game at Heinz Field, beating the Browns like that. We have we have to take a break here in just a second. Very quickly, 2020, I said was like Interstellar. Yeah, the pretty compelling setup, and then they go to they go through a wormhole, and then they find Matt Damon's character, and he backstabs them because what the heck are his motivations at this point? He was trying to save humanity, and now he just wants to go. I don't. It's just sort of inexplicable motivations toward the end of that movie. Made me think that it sort of, yeah, botched the ending more or less. And then, yeah, 2019 was Dunkirk. Dunkirk's the kind of movie where like you're in it from the get go, and it's really intense the whole time, and you're constantly scrapping for survival. That's how 2019
So
felt.
that was a really interesting comparison with the Christopher Nolan movies. One of the things I thought was really interesting was that even though there were some quality comparisons, it wasn't really about the quality of the movie or the quality of the season as much as it was about important themes and important elements of the structure of each season versus the movie. Do you feel like that's fair?
Yeah, I guess that's right. I was trying to when I was coming up with this list, I was thinking about like what is the element, like what element am I analogizing between the movie and the season? And I don't think I was consistent about that, but I thought I didn't need to be. um, but I think, yeah, in general, it was just like, what is that? Like, what's my general take about that movie? And then what season is that applied to? And I didn't go in thinking I was going to only talk about the last 5 seasons. I was going to try to hit a Super Bowl season or something in there. Uh, but maybe this is just like, I'm speculating about why I did it this way. I mean, I think partly, I don't know that like a Super Bowl season deserves like a masterpiece of a movie, and I don't know if Nolan's got any like true masterpieces. I think maybe Memento could be, but I couldn't figure out how to put that into one of our Super Bowl seasons. Uh, so and Dark Knight maybe, but again, I need to watch that one again because I don't actually know if that's as good as I remember it being. I remember the Joker being, Heath Ledger being awesome as a Joker, but I don't remember much about the rest of the movie. So I don't. Maybe one of those would be a Super Bowl season, but I wasn't confident enough. I couldn't like the other thematic elements didn't feel like they fit very well, right? Like Memento as a season would be like living the season backwards or something. Like what? I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right.
that was a good
should
question.
we-
That made me think.
It was interesting. I was wondering whether to drop my Christopher Nolan hot take right now, which you brought up The
Yeah,
Dark Knight,
yeah.
and I don't feel like The Dark Knight is that good of a movie. I think Heath Ledger is amazing, and I think if not for that performance, I feel like we would be like, I think part of it is the psychiatrist in me does not understand the Harvey Dent to Two-Face transition. It seems just completely unrealistic to me. Like someone who's like so principled about fighting crime, everything, and then like the person that's trying to fight crime like makes a decision that hurts someone he loves, and he's just like, "What? I'm abandoning all my principles, and now I'm gonna kill everyone." It's like, what? I thought that was very weak as far as like a character progression, and I don't know. I just feel like
That
it was
seems fair.
fine.
Yeah.
But Heath Ledger was amazing, and it's worth. I will watch that movie over and over for that. But that's not Christopher Nolan. That's Heath Ledger being awesome.
Yeah. Well, as a psychiatrist, how does the Joker's character invite a lot of kind of like how realistic is this, or like I feel like there could be a lot to dig into there.
No, that's true. You know, psychopathy is quite absurd, even in real life. So, like, I think when you have people that have those kind of more psychopathic tendencies, I think it's a lot easier to attribute a lot to them and to be willing to believe a lot. Whereas, like, Harvey Dent is like a, you know, apparently typically functioned, principled, moral person. And so for him to just switch like that, like obviously trauma does a lot of things to people, but that was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah. At the time I was like sort of willing to just like yeah, whatever. Like I think maybe like what was fun about the movie was not the Harvey Dent character so much as it was just the Joker being so like, just dominating every scene he was in, right? um but yeah, I mean if I see the complaint definitely. And I think I agree with you. I mean that was my sort of my hesitation there. Like I remember it being such an awesome movie, but I probably like when I think about it, I think about the Joker basically. And it is awesome, but is the rest of the movie that good? I don't know. I really don't.
Which is, I think, fair. And I'm sure we'll get more into these kinds of topics during the off season. But I am definitely someone who, like, how I judge a movie is based on what I feel like the movie is trying to be. And Christopher Nolan always is trying to make a smart movie. So I have a very high standard for him. Like, if you're going in and your thing is like, this movie's dumb, like, fine, I will suspend disbelief. But if you want to go in and be like, oh no, this movie's going to really make you think, well, then I'm taking notes. Like, let's see.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how Tenet goes too. I thought about trying to do a Tenet analogy here. I think that's one where it's like, it comes across as trying to be super smart. I mean, we're getting off topic here, but you know, like it's like moving fast, and it's like not waiting for you to keep up. But then, like when you really start to think about some of the parts of it, it's like not clear that they would work that way. So I don't know that you just reverse the entropy gradient. Something's going back in time, but also it's like driving back. I mean, I don't think it will work that way, but who knows?